Hey everyone, this is Mind Over Mana, and today we'll be talking about a little more crappy science journalism. This time, coming all the way from the UK, the Daily Mail, which ran an article headlined, "Could Space Dust Be at Fault for Climate Change? New research links particles in space to ever-changing weather conditions." Whoa, that sounds pretty scary. It's also kind of bullshit. What the article is describing is a new project called the Cosmic Dust in the Terrestrial Atmosphere, or CODITA, which is being headed up by Professor John Plain from the University of Leeds with funding of €2.5 million. A major new project which is going to be looking at how cosmic dust that is everywhere in the universe, how it collects within our atmosphere, and how it might have a role in our climate. Now, the first disingenuous part of this article is the headline itself, which claims that the research has a link to climate change. The research hasn't been done yet at all. They've just announced the funding. They're about to start working on it. How the article could somehow claim otherwise is pretty disingenuous. It's an outright lie, in fact, and it could be that the research will find no link to the amount of dust in our atmosphere affecting climate, which is unlikely. But what's even worse is that it suggests somehow a link to climate change, which is something else entirely. In particular, the fact that the amount of dust in our atmosphere, or that has collected within our atmosphere, would have had to increase significantly within the last few decades. At no point is this ever suggested, if you read the original press release, released by Professor Plain. And in fact, they didn't even take the time to speak to Professor Plain. He actually was contacted by a blog called The Carbon Brief, and he had this to say. So, we are talking about a time scale that stretches to up to 1 billion years. Now, climate change is something that's been happening over the last few decades. How this research could apply to such a small time scale is a mystery to me, and it's likely a mystery to the writer who contributed that article to the Daily Mail. One part I especially liked was a little factoid that said if you collected all the dust in between the Sun and Jupiter, it would create a moon 25 kilometers across, which is pretty scary until you look at the distance between Jupiter and the Sun, which is...
Aww.
Now, what this shows is that science is not interested in politics, and it isn't political in nature in spite of what some people say about it. Scientists aren't sitting around trying to prove one political ideology or another. That's the antithesis of what science is about. Science is an attempt to figure out what is true about the universe. The people who politicize science, though, are politicians, or in this case, journalists, and I use the term journalist pretty loosely. They take a scientific study like this, which is looking at how dust from outer space accumulates within our atmosphere over very long periods of time, or rather, what it would mean over very long periods of time to our climate, and try to tie it into the debate around climate change. Now, there is a silver lining to all this. I mean, by saying that dust from space might have an effect on climate, you're saying that when there are particles in the air, it can create a greenhouse effect. Or, if you don't believe in a greenhouse effect, have some sort of negative effect on our climate at least, as opposed to saying it will do nothing at all, which is a standard line for climate deniers, or climate change deniers, excuse me. Although, I don't know, maybe they deny climate exists too. It's hard to say with some people. But in this article, they have at least come a baby step forward by saying if we have stuff like dust in our air, it might have a negative effect on our atmosphere, or on our climate, rather. And if we could get them just go a few steps more and admit that perhaps pollution might have an effect as well, CO2 emissions in particular, then we might have made some progress. I won't be holding my breath on that one, but hey, one can hope. So next time you're looking at an article, especially if it's coming from the Daily Mail, because apparently they suck at reporting science, make sure you try to find a little more information and don't simply take a journalist who knows nothing about science at their word. Thanks for watching. Love science.